The airport smelled like disinfectant and broken dreams. You know the kind, where the floors gleam too much and the smiles from the staff feel stapled on. I stood there with a suitcase in one hand and a bag of duty-free chocolate in the other, waiting for my wife to spot me. Ashley, 10 days in Barcelona, her idea. I just need space to clear my head, she'd said. Time to think. I didn't argue. She looked tired, pale, worn thin by life or marriage or both. So I smiled, nodded, told her to enjoy herself, and even drove her to the airport like a proper gentleman. I spent those 10 days trying to distract myself, cleaned the gutters, took the dog to the park, even tried hot yoga, never again. But mostly, I counted the days until she came home and we could try to fix whatever we had left. She didn't text much while she was away. A few emojis here and there, one photo of some tapas, and a dry goodnight. I chalked it up to soul-searching. Maybe this was good. Maybe she'd come back refreshed, clearer, ready to talk. So when she finally appeared at the arrival's gate, I smiled like an idiot. She didn't smile back. Hey, I said, grabbing her suitcase before she could. How was it? It was enlightening, she said. I scanning anywhere but me. Can we talk when we get home? There it was. That phrase. The 4 words no married man wants to hear after a solo vacation. Can we talk? When we get home. The car ride was quiet. I asked about the trip, weather, food, anything. She gave me the kind of answers you give an Uber driver. Polite, empty, detached. When we got home, she didn't unpack. She didn't even sit down. She stood in the kitchen, fingers tracing the rim of her coffee mug like it held answers. Then she said it. I need to be alone. I laughed. Not on purpose. It just came out like a cough wrapped in disbelief. You just had 10 days alone. No, I mean, for real this time. I didn't argue. What was there to say? You can't negotiate with someone who's already packed their bags in their mind. She moved into her sister's guest house the next day. Said she needed space to breathe. Fine. But here's the kicker. The phone, her shiny, overpriced phone, was still connected to our family account. The same account I paid for. The one with shared cloud storage, synced location history, and full access to app purchases and backups. She forgot, or maybe didn't care, that her digital trail was still tied to me. And that, my friend, was the beginning of the unraveling. Because while Ashley was out there breathing, I was here watching her lies back up to my iCloud like a confession written in pixels. And I wasn't about to look away. 3 days after Ashley left, I got the notification. New device backup completed. Ashley's iPhone. Her new one. The one I bought her last Christmas with a bow and a maybe this will help us reconnect smile. I wasn't trying to spy. Not at first. I just wanted to check our data usage, see if I could cancel her line now that she was gone. You know, small, practical things you do after someone unplugs themselves from your life, like pulling the cord on a coffee machine. But then I saw it. Her backup was still syncing to her shared cloud. Photos, messages, voice notes, location history. I clicked. I shouldn't have, but I did. First thing I saw? A picture. Taken the day after she left for her self-discovery sabbatical. Not a scenic shot of a beach or a cathedral in Spain. No, it was a selfie. Her, in a hotel mirror. Red dress. Lipstick. Lingerie peeking out like it was part of the outfit. Ashley hadn't worn lipstick around me in a year. My stomach tightened. I kept scrolling. Each image was another breadcrumb on a trail I didn't ask to follow. Dinner plate set for 2. Room service trays. A man's jacket thrown over a chair. Then, the man himself, blurry in the background at first, then bold as brass in front of the camera by day 4. Tan. Mid-30s. Dimples and a carefully unbuttoned shirt. He looked like a stock photo model labeled charismatic entrepreneur. I didn't recognize him. But Ashley's smile when she looked at him? That, I recognized. It used to be mine. I moved on to messages. That's when my heart stopped pretending everything was okay. Ashley, you make me feel electric. Like I've been sleepwalking for years and just woke up. Unknown number. You were never meant to stay caged. Ash. He turned you into a ghost. I read that one twice. A ghost. That's what I was now? The man who paid the bills, fed the dog, and memorized her favorite coffee order? A ghost? I didn't get angry. Not yet. I got clinical. I checked timestamps. Cross-referenced photos with flight logs. Downloaded messages to a hard drive. I became a digital archaeologist, digging through the ruins of my own marriage. Every file, every text, every recorded giggle was a brick in the wall of betrayal she built while I stood on the other side, thinking we were still painting the damn house. And just when I thought I'd seen the worst of it, I opened the voice notes. "He's still messaging me," she said, laughing. Like I didn't just erase him from my life with a carry-on suitcase. Erased. That's what I was now. A smudge she wiped off on her way to find herself. I closed the laptop, sat in silence, and for the first time since she left, I smiled. Not because I was okay, but because I knew something she didn't. The game wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It was a Tuesday, one of those dull ones that usually passes without comment. The kind you forget happened at all. Except this one? This Tuesday stuck the landing like a gymnast with a grudge. I was in the living room, sipping coffee and trying to figure out whether I was still legally obligated to feed her houseplants. That's when her name lit up my phone. "Ashley, can we meet for dinner?" No apology. No context. Just that. Dinner. Like this was still a thing we did. Part of me wanted to ignore her. Let her float in the silence she created. But another part, probably the same part that believed in vows and happy endings, said, "Go. Face her." So I did. She picked the place. A trendy bistro with dim lighting and overpriced appetizers. Romantic enough to sting. I walked in and immediately regretted it. There she was. Already seated. Already smiling. And seated next to her, not across, next to her, was him. The tan guy. Mr. Electric. Wearing a tight black shirt like he'd just finished modeling for a protein bar ad. One arm resting casually behind her chair, the other nursing a whiskey he probably couldn't pronounce. My wife, still technically, looked up and said, "Logan, this is Chase. You've heard me mention him." Heard of him? Only every third sentence for the last 6 months. Her colleague. Her mentor. The one who gets her. Yeah, I'd heard of Chase. But I didn't say any of that. I sat. She said they wanted to talk to me together. That it would be easier that way. Which, to be clear, is something you say when you're telling someone the dog died. Not when you're introducing the guy who's been understudying your marriage. Then Chase leaned in. Locked eyes with me like we were about to duel in some Victorian ballroom. He said, "You've got 2 options, Logan. Leave quietly, or face me like a man." Let me repeat that for the people in the back. Leave quietly, or face me. Like I was the one interrupting their dinner. Like I was the third wheel in my own life. Ashley didn't say a word. Just sipped her wine. No denial. No apology. Just waited to see which path I'd take. I looked at Chase, looked at her, and then I smiled. "Teeth," I said. "You want to keep them whole or in pieces?" He blinked. I stood, and I redecorated the table with his face. Plates flew. Wine exploded. Forks hit the floor in a kind of dramatic symphony. Chase tried to stand, but I gave him a right hook so clean the waiter applauded. Ashley screamed. The whole restaurant went silent except for the sound of my dignity walking back into the room. Security dragged me out, blood on my knuckles and peace in my heart. I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt awake, because I finally understood. That dinner wasn't the beginning of her affair. It was the final act. She brought me there not to confess, but to watch me lose. And in that moment, I decided. This wasn't over. Not until the curtain dropped. My way out, I didn't sleep the night after the dinner ambush. Not for lack of trying. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like it was trying to stir my thoughts into a neat little smoothie. It failed. My mind was a hive of hornets, each one buzzing with betrayal, anger, humiliation. And under all that? Curiosity. Because now I wanted to know how long the show had been running before I got invited to the stage. So I started looking. Not out of jealousy. Out of strategy. Ashley had underestimated me. She thought I'd crumble, cry, pack a bag and go find myself at the bottom of a whiskey bottle. She forgot who she married. I was never the loud type. Never the dramatic one. But I was dangerous in a quiet way. I was methodical. Her toothbrush was still in the holder. Her lotion still on the counter. Half her closet untouched, like she was planning to casually drift back in when the new romance got boring. Like I was a safety net with a heartbeat. I opened her side of the vanity. She never locked her tablet. She used to joke that I was too trusting to snoop. Yeah, about that. The moment the screen lit up, I felt like Indiana Jones cracking open a tomb. And buddy, it reeked of rot. There were photos first. Not the kind you post on social media, the kind you save in a hidden folder titled Personal Memories. One was taken at a rooftop bar. She wore a dress I'd never seen. He wore a smirk that made me want to teach him respect through dental surgery. Her hand was on his chest. His hand was on her lower back, too familiar, too confident. Swipe. Them on a boat. Swipe. Them in a hotel room. Then came the messages. Chase, I wish you didn't have to go home tonight. Can't we just stay wrapped up like this forever? Ashley, soon. Just a few more weeks. Then it's you and me, finally. Chase, does he suspect? Ashley, not a clue. He's still trying to fix what I broke. Per baby. That line. Per baby. It hit like a sucker punch. Not because it was cruel, but because of how casually she said it. Like I was some sad, clueless puppy chasing after a ball that had already been thrown away. There were voice notes, too. I listened to one. Her whispering, sultry, breathless. He still tries to kiss me goodnight. Can you believe that? It's like kissing a beige couch. I didn't need to hear more. I closed the tablet. Sat there. Let the silence sink in. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just let the truth take its seat at the table. She walked in the next morning like she hadn't lit the house on fire and danced on the ashes. Hair in a messy bun. Wearing that worn-out hoodie she used to borrow from me like it meant something. Morning, she said, heading to the kitchen. I didn't answer. She turned, mug in hand. What's with the face? I slid the tablet across the dining table. It landed with a soft thud. She looked down. Paused. Swiped once. Her breath caught, just slightly. She looked at me. And for the first time in this whole unraveling mess, she blinked. What is this? She asked, like I'd photoshopped her affair into existence. Your words, I said calmly. Your photos. Your lies. She straightened. Tried to summon that self-righteous posture I knew too well. You had no right to go through my stuff. No right? I tilted my head. After you fed me stories about girls' nights while you were playing mattress tag with a protein shake and jeans? After you asked me to drive you to the airport so you could go clear your head while your lover warmed your pillow in Spain? She crossed her arms. You're being dramatic. And you're being divorced. That shut her up for a second. But then she laughed. Laughed. You think you're gonna just walk away with your head held high and make me look like the villain? Oh, Ashley, I said. You already made yourself the villain. I'm just printing the posters. I didn't tell her everything right away. About what I was planning. About how far I was willing to go. Because the key to a satisfying revenge isn't rage. It's timing. And calmness. So I smiled. I made coffee. I let her keep thinking this was just going to be a messy split, a little paperwork and some mutual resentment. But quietly, I was turning screws behind the scenes. First, I took the dog. No argument. Just packed his food, grabbed his leash, and said, he's mine. You can keep the guilt. Second, I locked her out of every shared account. Spotify, Netflix, even the smart thermostat. She messaged me one night, furious because she couldn't turn the heat up in her new apartment. I replied, should have thought of that before things got cold between us. But the real masterpiece? That started with a photo. I sent a copy of one of her vacation pictures to a contact I had in our HR department. You see, Chase wasn't just some side fling. He was her supervisor. And her company? Very strict about ethics. I didn't even have to write an essay. Just let the image speak for itself. An executive with his subordinate in swimwear, cocktail in hand, snuggling on what was very clearly not a company retreat. 2 days later, I heard Chase had been put on leave pending investigation. Ashley? She got called into HR. She came home red-faced and shaking. You did this, she hissed. I sipped my coffee. No, you did. She didn't yell after that. She packed a bag in silence and left. And I sat there, watching the door close. Not in pain, not in regret, but in something that looked a lot like peace. Because for the first time since this all began, the scoreboard finally read. Logan, 1. The liars, 0. When people think about revenge, they imagine fire. Explosions. Shattered glass. Me? I preferred silence. The kind of silence that creeps in after a storm and makes you wonder if something's watching. Ashley wasn't just cheating on me. She was erasing me. Like I was the first draft she couldn't wait to tear up. But now that the affair had been lit up like a billboard in Times Square and her workplace romance was circling the HR drain, things were starting to feel balanced. Still, I wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. Because there's one thing Ashley forgot during her vacation of the soul. We shared a bank account. Let me back up a step. 2 years ago, I had suggested combining finances because, trust. She agreed, enthusiastically, like it was a step forward. And for a while, it worked. We saved together, budgeted, tracked expenses. But after a while, she started to act like our money was her safety net. Monty Pitas, yoga retreats, boutique skincare subscriptions, and the occasional charge that looked suspiciously like it belonged to a hotel bar. So when she left for Chase's arms and his designer cologne, I left for the bank. First thing I did was freeze the joint account. Not drain. Not steal. Just paused it. Which, to be clear, is completely legal when you suspect someone might be misusing funds. She called me an hour later. "You froze our account?" she snapped. "Yup," I replied, cracking open a LaCroix. Figured we should each be responsible for our own spending now that we're living separate lives. "You can't just—" I cut her off. "I can." And I did. She huffed like someone had just told her brunch was canceled. "Ash," I said, keeping my voice even, "you chose someone else. That comes with consequences. One of them is no longer having access to my wallet while mocking me in text messages." She didn't reply. Just hung up. I smiled. But I wasn't just playing defense anymore. It was time to go on the offensive. So I started digging. Not into Ashley's devices, that part was done. No, this was deeper. This was about disruption. About making her rebuild her life brick by brick while I watched from the lawn chair with popcorn. Here's what I learned. Her new apartment? Still under her sister's name. A temporary arrangement. Translation: she hadn't told anyone in the family the full story. Her job? Teetering. HR wasn't done with Chase, and guilt by association is a funny thing in corporate land. Her Instagram? Still pretending life was perfect. Fake quotes, fake smiles, filtered sunsets that looked nothing like the forecast in our city. So I did what any self-respecting, wronged husband would do. I started posting the truth. Not in a rage. Not even with accusations. Just facts. A photo of her suitcase, captioned, "The last thing she packed was the truth." A screenshot of Chase's shirtless selfie, "Corporate mentorship sure has changed." And the clincher? A clip from one of her voice notes, cropped to just 5 chilling words. "He still thinks we're fine." I didn't tag her. I didn't even use her name. But our circles overlapped just enough for people to start whispering. 2 nights later, I got a text from her sister. "Monica, hey, can we talk? Ashley's going through something, and we're all a bit confused." I almost laughed. Confused? Try being married to the woman and waking up to betrayal served in 4K. But I agreed to meet. Curiosity, I suppose. We sat at a diner. Neutral territory. Monica looked tired, I scanning my face like she was trying to detect a lie. "She said you've been attacking her," she started. "I've been posting," I said calmly. "Not attacking." She built the lie. "I just turned on the lights." "She's scared," Monica admitted. "She thinks you're trying to ruin her life." "She should be more scared of her own decisions," I said. "Because I'm not ruining her life. I'm just letting it collapse under its own weight." Monica nodded slowly. "So what do you want?" I looked at her, dead in the eye. "Nothing. I don't want her back. I don't want revenge in the Hollywood sense. I just want her to feel the weight of what she did. Not a slap on the wrist. A reckoning." She swallowed hard. "You're not who I thought you were." I smiled. "Neither is your sister." Later that night, I got an email. From Chase. Subject line: "Let's talk." I opened it. "Logan, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, but you need to back off. This is between me and Ashley. If you keep digging into our personal lives, I'll get legal involved. You've made your point. Move on." It was polite. Stiff. Written like a man who was used to getting his way with charm and gym memberships. I replied, "Chase, I'm not digging. I already found the treasure. You just don't like the fact that it's fake gold." Then I attached a PDF. HR's ethics policy. The section on fraternization was highlighted. Never heard from him again. I tell you all this not to brag, but to explain something. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about respect. Ashley thought I was a doormat, that I'd just fold politely while she slipped into someone else's life. But she forgot quiet men don't scream. They build traps. They dig slow. And when they strike, it's surgical. People always assume a man going through a breakup is either sobbing into a carton of ice cream or bench pressing his way through heartbreak. What they don't imagine is a guy like me, sitting at a laptop at 3 a.m. with a spreadsheet open and a chessboard in his head, moving pieces. That's how I found him. Trevor. Now, Trevor isn't a hacker. He's worse. He's an accountant with a God complex and a spite allergy. The man once uncovered a $32,000 discrepancy in a tax return just for fun, and then mailed the report anonymously because the math offended him. We hadn't spoken in a couple years. He was one of those friends that life puts on a dusty shelf when you get married. Ashley never liked him. Said he was too cynical. Translation: He saw through her in 5 minutes. I sent him one message. Need your eyes on something shady. Discretion guaranteed. Payment equals revenge. He replied in 7 seconds. Say no more. Send files. Here's the thing about people like Ashley and Chase. They're messy. They think they're untouchable because they're charming. But charming people make terrible criminals. They leave fingerprints. They overshare. They show off. And when you give a forensic numbers guy a few passwords and a cloud backup, they become roadkill on a spreadsheet. 3 days later, Trevor called me on a secure line. Yes, he uses those. Logan, he said, already chewing sunflower seeds, your girl's an amateur. I figured. No, I mean financially. She's been funneling money from your joint account to a prepaid card she registered under a fake name, Ashley Rothstein. You know a Rothstein? Other than the guy from Casino? He chuckled. It gets better. She used the card at a boutique hotel downtown last month. Guess who also charged meals to that room? Tell me. Chase. Under his real name. These two make Hallmark villains look subtle. Trevor emailed me the receipts. Room service, spa days, 2 bottles of champagne, all billed to the card that was linked, indirectly, to my account. So not only was Ashley cheating, she was using my money to fund a fantasy. That changed the game. I didn't confront her. Yet. I built a case. Bank statements? Check. Screenshots of the hotel's guest registry? Check. Photos of her and Chase entering together, timestamped from the hotel's own security feed? Double check. Trevor had a guy. I stopped asking questions. But that was just Act 1. Act 2 was legal. My divorce attorney, Helen, was a 5'2" bulldog in pumps. She took one look at the folder I dropped on her desk and said, I hope you're not attached to the idea of fairness, because we're going scorched earth. Ma'am, I said, I brought matches. We filed the petition within 48 hours. Grounds, marital misconduct with financial abuse. That prepaid card? That was the nail in the coffin. Judges don't like it when you treat a joint bank account like a GoFundMe for your affair. Ashley got served at work. Right in front of HR. According to Monica, who had started texting me updates like some kind of double agent, she turned white, then red, then apparently needed a break to collect herself. Per thing. Now here's where it gets rich. That same week, Chase disappeared from her office. Officially, he resigned to pursue other opportunities. Unofficially, HR did a full audit after my anonymous submission of their little hotel adventure. Turns out, Chase had also been approving some very creative expense reports. Guess whose card got flagged? Ashley's. So now her job was dangling by a thread. Her affair partner had vanished like a fart in the wind. Her sister was suspicious. And me? I was just getting started. The next domino came by accident. I ran into Lacey at the grocery store. You remember Lacey, Ashley's best friend. The same one Ashley claimed to be visiting when she was actually busy with Chase, spot treatments, and room service. Lacey spotted me near the cereal aisle. She waved like nothing had happened. Hey, Logan. I played it cool. Lacey. Long time. She bit her lip. Listen, I just wanted to say I had no idea about everything. I never would have gone along with it if I knew she was lying. I blinked. Gone along with what? Her face stiffened. You know, she said slowly, covering for her. That weekend she said she was at my place. Ah, the plot thickens. So Ashley had used Lacey as an alibi, but didn't tell Lacey. Now I had a witness. By week's end, everything was in motion. Divorce, filed. Reputation, unraveling. Finances, frozen, traced, and leveraged. Her friends, flipping like pancakes. And the best part? She still thought I was sitting around sulking. Still thought I'd crawl back once the smoke cleared. One night, she called. Probably her 3rd glass of wine in. Can we just talk? She asked, voice brittle. We are talking, I replied. You're just not used to me being the one holding the mic. Logan, she sighed. You're making this worse. No, I said. I'm just showing everyone what you built. I'm the mirror, Ash. You don't like what you see? Maybe stop breaking things you're not willing to fix. She went quiet, then hung up. The next morning, a note was taped to my door. No name, just a message. You're playing a dangerous game. See. Cute. Chase was still lurking somewhere, probably shirtless and oily, typing threats with his thumbs and mistaking it for intimidation. But here's the truth. You can't threaten a man who's already lost everything and kept his soul. That's when you're the most dangerous. Because a man like that, he doesn't break. He builds. And I was just warming up. Ashley didn't know I was hosting a party. Not the kind with balloons and finger food. No, this was an unveiling. I invited a few mutual friends. People who still hadn't picked a side. People who had heard "Logan's gone crazy" whispered by Ashley in carefully curated group chats. They came because they were curious. They stayed because I showed them the truth. I projected photos. Messages. Not vulgar stuff. I kept it clean but surgical. Each slide was a fact. A receipt. A moment of betrayal captured in digital clarity. At the end, I said, I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not asking for support. I'm just showing you who she really is, so the next time she plays the victim, you'll remember what you saw tonight. Nobody said a word. Not at first. Then someone clapped. Then another. And then the room erupted. Not in cheers. In understanding. I didn't win them over with rage. I won them over with evidence. Ashley had built a tower of lies. I was just letting people see the cracks. 2 days later, Monica messaged me. She's spiraling. Chase dumped her. HR's recommending termination. She thinks you're pulling every string. She was half right. Some strings I pulled. Some? She nodded herself. Ashley texted me. You win. Are you happy? I stared at the message for a while. Then typed. This was never about winning. This was about truth. You mistook kindness for weakness. And now you're surprised I stopped kneeling. She left me on read. That night, she showed up at the house. Hair messy. No makeup. Just the real Ashley for once. I just want to talk, she said. So I let her. She cried. Said she made a mistake. Said she thought Chase was something real and that I was just safe. But she missed safe now. She missed peace. I miss you, she whispered. And that's when I realized she didn't regret cheating. She regretted losing. I looked her dead in the eye and said, I don't miss you. I miss who you pretended to be. She stood there, stunned. Then I handed her an envelope. Inside? An invoice. Half the rent she owed from her transition phase, living in our house. Itemized. Professionally printed. With interest. She stormed off, of course. But that was her last act. The curtain had closed. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. I got the house, the car, and peace. She got some clothes, a damaged reputation, and a used-to-be lover who had quietly ghosted her once HR opened the books. Funny how the truth cleans house better than bleach. I started rebuilding. Not just my life, but myself. I went back to the gym. Not because of her. Because I remembered I liked who I was before she made me small. I took up guitar again. Volunteered at a shelter. Hell, I even went on a few dates. Nothing serious. Just me remembering that love isn't a battlefield. It's a garden, and I'd spent years watering weeds. And then, one evening, I got a message on Facebook. From Chase. Just 3 words. You're a monster. I smiled and replied. You dated her. I survived her. Blocked. Peace. You want to know what cruel revenge looks like? It's not fire. It's silence. It's success. It's watching someone who tried to destroy you sit alone in a cheap apartment, refreshing your social media just to see if you're miserable. But you're not. You're thriving. You're living better, not for the sake of proving them wrong, but because you finally remembered how to live without dead weight dragging behind you. Cruel revenge isn't breaking her windows for screaming in her driveway. It's showing up to court in a tailored suit, calm as a monk, while her lawyer begs for leniency. It's buying yourself steak dinner the night the final signature goes through. And when the waiter asks what you're celebrating, you just say, freedom. Ashley became a cautionary tale. Not because I made her one, but because she wrote that story herself. I just made sure people read it. Now I sleep soundly. Because the ghost she tried to turn me into? He's gone. And what's left is a man who didn't just survive betrayal. He turned it into a blueprint for rebirth. That's the end of the story. But you better believe, if she ever comes knocking again, I'll smile, hold the door open, and say, the past doesn't live here anymore. And then I'll close the door. Quietly. With dignity. Because some revenge is loud. But the best kind? Walks away and never looks back.